Welcome to the Dating Kinky Podcast, a cast about love, sex, romance, and kink. A while back, I did my first YouTube live event. Now, if you listen to my podcast regularly, you know about Throwback Thursdays, where I take a writing from the past, make a podcast, and include some of the previous comments and discussion. Well, I had the idea of doing it live on YouTube and to simulcast on the Moan app so that I could invite people to engage with me on the topic and the ideas. And I managed with a bit of technical confusion. During that live cast, someone on the YouTube chat commented, "You seem like you would be a hard woman to date," and added, "I mean, you're looking for a perfect person, LOL." They were listening to me talk about how I believe that you are worthy of love, friendship, and compassion, and that one of the best ways to communicate that to people is to offer them the same and to not accept less from others. Yeah. Wow. And when I was younger, I would have believed not only that they were right about me being difficult to date, but that being difficult to date was a bad thing when it's not. Not for me, anyway. I am difficult to date for the wrong people. For the right people, I'm quite easy to date. And, well, I'm not looking because I have the right people in my life. Which leads me to today's topic. What is realistic to want in a relationship? A lot of dating advice says something like, be realistic in your expectations. And they're right. Not right, but right. It is true, but not the truth. And it's easy to get confused. You see, all of my exes told me that my desires were unrealistic. Well, all of my serious relationships did, and many of my casual ones too. You know what I learned? That people will tell you that your standards are wrong when they don't meet your standards. Back in the days of Craigslist personals, I'd get messages from people who read my ad, did not fit what I was looking for, but who felt a need to tell me that although they knew they didn't fit what I was looking for, here were the qualities they did have. And when I wrote back saying, "Thank you, but I'm pretty committed to what I'm looking for, best of luck," it was common, like 9 times out of 10, that they would shoot back at me and insult what I wanted, and tell me I was being unrealistic. Many of them would then watch for future ads and write to me with something like, "Still here, huh? Want to try some of all this now?" They not only thought my standards were wrong, but they invested themselves in trying to correct them for me, a total stranger on the internet. Didn't work for them. Didn't work for my exes in the long run. All of my exes told me that my desires were unrealistic. My current decided to show me that they weren't enough. When I met my current partner, we were both tired, disillusioned, frustrated with wanting so much more out of life and out of love. We had both independently arrived at a point in our lives where we just said, fuck it, I'm going to be 100% unapologetically me and get what I want out of life, or I won't. And when we met, we stuck with that. And as we started getting to know each other, we made an agreement to be open and honest. And if it didn't work, it didn't work, but that we were done lowering our standards for others. And although we didn't say so at the time, we both also decided to really show the other what we loved about them and encourage that radical authenticity. It was the beginning of a whole new life for me. It changed my world. My desires were not unrealistic. They were just not a good fit for those previous partners. It seems so obvious now. Like, I could have had a V8, obvious. Like, I spent 15 years figuring out something that in retrospect is totally duh, obvious. But rather than lament that it took me so long, because I now acknowledge that it takes a while for certain truths to sink in through my thick skull, I now just celebrate that I've gotten there. And I try to share that with others in the hopes that wherever you are in life, you get to experience the love and acceptance and joy and affirmation of desires that I do. Because I'm not super special, probably less special than most. But I digress. So back to the question. What is realistic to want in a relationship? The quick answer is anything. The longer answer is anything, but not everything. All of the foundations, but not all of the details. All of the important stuff, but not all of the unimportant stuff. All of the needs, but not all of the wants. I did not get all of the details I imagined in our relationship. I still don't. I also get a lot more that I never imagined and that contribute to the feeling of getting what I want and need, even if I didn't know I wanted it and needed it. I'll probably come back to those ideas in another writing because there's a lot to unpack there. And I've written and talked a lot about needs versus wants, for example, and I still get those questions pretty constantly. But in this, I'd like to talk about a friend of mine who, when negotiating for a scene, prioritizes the question, how do you want to feel? And in a relationship, my greatest priority is that the sum of everything, all the goods and the bads, all the sexy stuff and the responsibilities, all the give and the take, all adds up to both of us getting far more out of the relationship than we put in. Both of us. That's how I want to feel and how I want him to feel. What are your thoughts? Have you been told that you have unrealistic expectations from a relationship? Do you think that you might be focusing too much on what you want and the details versus what you need and the feelings? Or do you think that they're wrong? Or perhaps, and this was my experience, could it be both? And you could take some time to reassess what is really important to you in a relationship and what you can drop as nice to have but unessential details. Thank you for joining me today. If you love this episode, please share it with others who would enjoy it. And please do join me on our new apps available in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. Dating Kinky, it's built by Kinksters for Kinksters, poly, queer, trans folk, and anyone not quite vanilla, and it's free. Find me on FetLife as Nookie Notes, and on Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, and Medium as Dating Kinky. We're on Instagram as Dating Kinky Official, all one word. Also, find me on the new Moan app in beta for iPhone. I'm Miss Nookie there. TheMonapp.com. Have a kinky day, and I'll catch you next episode.